What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today is September 23rd and we're going to be looking at some rogue decks that have been popping up in tournaments in the past week or so. Before we do that, shouts out to PotownStore.com, my lovely sponsor and the best place for you to get PTCGO codes. Make sure you use code Celio for 5% off over there. So, bunch of rogue decks to look at today. We've been seeing a lot of creativity come out in this current standard format, which I am always pleased to see. And we'll be starting out with my own list, actually, of torkoal VMAX. So, this list was available on my Patreon, and my mom and I both piloted it in the Hexer tournament last Friday. She got 11th, and I got top 32. She went into cut as 6-1-1. And I actually lost to her, so I finished 5-3. But yeah, this is torkoal VMAX. It's something I've been working on for a few weeks now. And like I said, it's been available to my patrons through my spreadsheet of deck lists. It's been available since I started working on it. And I also wrote an exclusive article on it last week. The torkoal VMAX, I really love it because it doesn't necessarily play like a typical welder deck. Because it is a welder deck by nature, it does rely on using the supporter welder, but it's not an aggressive deck in the same sense of usual fire decks. It's aggressive because of Steam Crush to discard energy from your opponent's Pokemon. If you are playing against a deck where energy denial doesn't hurt them as much, then you want to use Heatran GX's Hot Burn GX, Victini's Energy Burst if they're going to have a lot of energy on them anyway, and also Double to finish up the game. So that's why it's kind of a box deck, because Torkoal V Steam Crush doesn't hurt every single deck. So you have plenty of other options for when Torkoal V does not get the job done, but versus Eternatus and versus Lucametal and versus ADPZ, Torkoal V is just fine. Torkoal V is actually amazing versus Eternatus. So it's a box deck, really fun to play. I highly suggest you trying it out. There's a lot of fun features. We have the 4 Turbo Patch in here. The Aranguru from Primate Wisdom allows you to set the top card of your deck so you can swing 180 with Combustion Pillar. We play 2 Heatrans, so you can switch consistently into Hot Burn GX when you want to. And yeah, very fun deck and very versatile, and I think it's very good for the current meta. The next rogue deck we'll be looking at, I do have a couple of them already saved in PTCGO, and then we'll just switch to images of the deck lists. But next one is Green Chomp. So Tina Chomp with the Greens Exploration build. This has been piloted and shared by plenty of people. This exact list, Gabe Smart piloted to a top 16 in Hexter. I know Caleb Infinite PTCG has also worked on this list. I believe Isaiah Bradner played Tina Chomp, but I think he stopped playing it at the ability variant, which we will also be looking at today. Yeah, so I know for a fact Gabe Smart and Caleb Infinite PTCG on Twitter have both piloted this deck, but I know other people worked on it as well. So it's a greens deck. You want to go second. These greens decks that have been popping up, they typically will take a favored matchup versus Eternatus and ADPZ, and this is not an exception to that. Because Zacian cannot knock out Tina Chomp or Marshchamp, you are very good versus them, since ADPZ typically does not play a Vitality Band or a Zigzagoon. If they were particularly worried about this deck, maybe they would. But the plan is you set up early damage with a linear attack poke or even with a Galarian Zigzagoon, and then you clean things up with Calamitous Slash. You can get rid of huge threats with GG End, and Marshchamp hits Eternatus and Pikachu, Zekrom, and Raichu hits a ton of stuff for weakness, so that's very good. And of course the Magneton. We haven't gotten to the Magneton. Call Signal pops itself. Your opponent takes a prize card. You search for any 3 supporter cards. That allows you to get Lieutenant Surge and, let's say, double greens. You can play Surge, greens, get whatever you need. Karate Belt, Martial Arts Dojo to do extra damage, Energy Spinner for your energy, Tool Scrapper to get rid of a Metal Goggles, Power Plant to bump your opponent's stadium, whatever it is. So you want to go behind on prize cards to activate Karate Belt and Dojo, attack turn 2 with either of your attackers, and try to take over the game from there. So it's a very tactical deck. It's very, very skill reliant, in my opinion, as almost all Greens decks are. Probably all Greens decks are. Because you're always searching for any 2 trainer cards, and it gives you so much room for playing correctly or misplaying. And so Greens decks usually have a pretty high skill floor and skill ceiling. I believe we should have one other rogue deck already saved on my PTCGO. Let's see what it is. Ah, yes, it's Weezatus VMAX, as I have saved it. So this this list is coming at you from Drayden Davis, who runs, or at least runs the Atlas collectible tournaments, the Atlas minis and all of those. But yeah, Drayden popped into my stream a week or so ago and was like, hey, I placed with this weezing based deck that just happens to play Eternatus. Will you play it on stream? And so he sent it over and we tried it out. So it's really cool. You want to play it more like it's not necessarily played like an Eternatus deck, although you clean up with Eternatus. You kind of try to just sit active with weezing and annoy your opponent while doing a bunch of damage with Toxicroak. And it gives you time to just attach to your benched Eternatus VMAXs if they're not playing Energy Disruption. So it's a really cool list. It definitely has more depth than an Eternatus deck. I'd probably love to see hammers in it, just because in my old Galarian Weezing deck, my goal was to ability lock them and remove energy. So I'd love to see energy removal in this list, I think, but very cool. Always happy to see Galarian Weezing being used. If you're not familiar with what it does, it's a stage 1 Pokemon, and as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon have no abilities. And then Severe Poison poisons the opponent for 4 damage counters between turns, and then this adds 2 more, so they take 6 damage counters between every turn for poison, which is definitely nothing to scoff at. So that's it for the decks I have saved in PTCGO. Let's switch over to the ones I have photos of. So this list, these might be a little blurry because PTCGO does show up blurry when you screenshot it. But this list is from Tate Whitesoul and the Undaunted team. Tate played this in the Pokex Last Chance Qualifier and placed 10th. I believe that was something like a 4-2 record or so. But this is a type of Dark Box. It's kind of like an old version of Dark Box. You want to red and blue the Silvally or the Weavile, and then move the energy with the Weavile. Again, like I mentioned, a lot of these rogue decks that are coming out are favored versus Eternatus and ADPZ. Since the meta is really centralizing around those 2 decks, like I talked about yesterday, we can now have these creative rogue decks that just hard counter, or at least attempt to hard counter, the top decks. So the plan is you use Dark Moon GX to pop a 3-prize Pokemon instantly, and then your opponent can't use trainer cards next turn, and then you gust up at the Dene with Sabltar and knock it out, and you win the game. That's the plan versus tag team decks like ADPZ, at least. Versus Eternatus, you just want to knock out either 2 Eternatus, or you pop 1 Eternatus and then knock out a Crobat and a single prize Pokemon. You also have Mewtwo to copy these attacks if you want to hit for Psychic Weakness, or you don't want to get hit by Fighting Weakness. Eevee and Snorlax GX, I don't think that's very good, and I believe Tate said he was going to replace it with something. Something to note, I love the 4 tag call consistency, because you just want to get red and blue on turn 2. So you have the tag call to grab your preferred attacker and get red and blue, draw some cards with Silvally GX, and yeah, pretty interesting take on Dark Box that is still functioning in our current standard format. Next, we've got ADP Cats, I believe it's being called. I've seen Isaiah Bradner play this list. I'm not sure who originally popularized it, but this particular image is from Stefan Ivanov's Twitter. He played it in a tournament in the past week. And the thought process behind this kind of variant is, it's ADPZ. The ADPZ we all know and love, but it has Persian GX, so that when one of your GX Pokemon are knocked out on your turn, you can then If it's knocked out on your opponent's turn, then on your turn, you can search your deck for any 2 cards. So you can search for your energy and your boss and win the game. The Oricorio GX plus Persian GX combo is so that if your opponent Gust kills Oricorio, you get to use Persian's Catwalk to search for 2 cards. If your opponent Gust kills Persian, you get to use Oricorio GX's Dance of Tribute to draw 3 cards. So it's kind of like you can kill either of these support Pokemon, but I'm still going to get use out of one of them. And so yeah, it's ADPZ with some extra fluff here. For, I guess, consistency. I'm not really sure if there's like objective merit to playing this over a standard ADPZ list, but it's definitely something cool that has come out recently. Next, we have a Greens Pika list. Let me zoom in a bit for this, and I believe the PTCGO username of this person was Patchy, I believe, like Pachirisu. But I'm going to go try to find it real quick. I have everybody's credits up here. If you could just bear with me for a second. Sorry about this. Where are you, Patchy? Patchy, if you're listening, I'm sorry I don't remember your name. I believe it was something Milla, M-I-L-L-A. That's the last name we're looking for here for the Greens Pika list. That's not it. Okay, so Greens Pika, basically... definitely a bit different than Ability Pika because you're not playing Jirachis, you're not playing Dedenes, Crobats, Eldegoss, anything like that. There we go. Diego Milla, or Diego Milla. They bubbled top 16 of the Hexter tournament on September 8th. So, Greens Pika with hammers. You know, we're throwing hammers into everything. I believe I actually played against this person round 1 with my Torkoal deck that tournament. The Greens Pika is something that we saw for a bit in the Rebel Clash format, and I believe potentially a bit with Darkness Ablaze, but it's kind of more on the rogue side in Darkness Ablaze. The goal is you turn 1 you go greens for your preferred card, so Crushing Hammer to get rid of their energy, Energy Spinner to make sure you can attach and get some energy into the discard pile, and then use Bolt Hunt to power up your Pika, and then next turn start attacking with whatever you want to attack with. It also, Green's Exploration can just search out your Quick Ball. You get Cocoa Prism guaranteed, because instead of just having 4 Quick Ball to search out your Cocoa, now you'll have 4 greens to search out your 3 Quick Ball as well. So you essentially have 7 outs to your Cocoa Prism, plus the natural out of Cocoa Prism being your 8th. There is an ability Pokemon in the Greens deck, but most Greens decks now just have to take the hit and play an ability Pokemon and hope they don't start it. I'm not a huge fan of the deck, but it seems to be getting some okay results. Pretty much anything with Crushing Hammer can get lucky in the early turns against ADPZ or Eternatus and cause them to stumble. So while I don't love that we're in a format where just tossing Crushing Hammer into your deck can be a good thing, it could be the RNG you need to push you over the edge versus some of the top decks, so we have been seeing that. I think I have to zoom out to go over to the next deck. Where's the arrow? Where did my arrow go? Okay, we're having some technical difficulties here, because I should be able to scroll over to the next image. Let's reload this. Let's see, here was the Greens Peak. We're just full of technical difficulties. Okay, let's see. I won't forget names for this one. This was Isaiah Bradner's list for the ability version of Tina Chomp Marshchamp that I had mentioned. This one was also worked on by Infinite PTCG. Caleb, always forget his last name, but I know his Twitter. I know his Twitter handle. He makes some wacky decks. And this one picked up some steam as well. So this is just the ability version of the deck. This is definitely more of a box, and I believe it might have even started out with more a more variety of Pokemon, but it's just adds 1 attacker. It has the Regirock V, which swings 190 for 3 or 30 plus for every damage counter on it. So I think the Greens version just ends up being better because most people want to go first, and then you just always get to go second. and you get to guarantee you go behind on prizes when you want to. You get to control it with the Magneton, so it's actually more consistent than the ability version, I think. But definitely a very, very cool list. I got to see this played a lot, watching my mom's matches in the Hexter and also playing against this myself. Next we have another Dark Box variant. This one is coming at you from, let's see, Adam somebody. We're gonna get the names. We're gonna get the names down, people. That was Tate's list. This is from definitely somebody named Adam on Twitter. I know it to be true. Okay, we'll find it. But yeah, so a Dark Box list. I know that the person who posted this on Twitter said it was inspired by the list that Torklev had shared. I think somebody else also shared a list for a Hydreigon based dark list. Something I was thinking about building, never got around to, just because, you know, Hydreigon's a new card out of Darkness Ablaze, so it could be fun to mess around with, but being a stage 2, I don't think it actually can function at like a tier 1 level, but that's fine. Tier 2 decks, tier 3 decks, rogue decks can all be successful, and we always have to remember that. Sorry, I'm also looking for the person who shared this list as I talk. Yeah, so it uses a bunch of different dark attackers. It has Zoro Ninja, it has Sabletar, Darkrai Umbreon, and Hoopa GX. The Hoopa GX, I imagine that's because you want to use the first attack to search out your card, so your Candy Hydreigon, and you can copy that with Mewtwo, and you don't have to kind of waste an energy on that Hoopa, because you could attach energy to Mewtwo, use that, and then copy Hoopa's attacks to search your deck for the cards you need, then next turn Candy Hydreigon. The issue with that is, of course, Marnie and Reset Stamp. So I'm not the biggest fan of Hoopa. I think I'd rather see something like the Hapu engine that Sandaconda used in Nick Robinson's list. But Sandaconda did want energy into the discard pile, which was another reason to play Hapu, whereas this list wants energy in your hand for Hydreigon, not into the discard pile. I must have scrolled past this person's Twitter post like 5 times. I have all these lists in my likes on Twitter, and I've just been scrolling through it. Here we go. Pikachu Prime 19 on Twitter. Their name is Eternatum, as a play on Eternatus. So yeah, definitely a really different deck to try out. If you're itching to play stage 2s, if you're itching to play Dark Box, if you want to play Dark Moon GX because it's an absolutely insane and underused GX attack, go for this list. It looks like a ton of fun. And this is the last one we got coming from Team Undaunted again, specifically Lee Bui, I believe, was the one who piloted this. It's Dragapult. It's Dragapult with Clefable and Hammers. I actually lost to this in a tournament. It might have been one of the Hexters, but I did lose to this for sure. And the thought is you can play Dragapult, and if you play against Eternatus, just get rid of all their energy, and then you're good to go. It also is just generally good, like I was talking about with Torkoal V. Energy Denial is just pretty good in the current standard format. There's not a ton of decks that can accelerate energy past the point where Energy Denial doesn't matter anymore. Like Pikarom, for example, does not have Thunder Mountain anymore, so Energy Denial hurts it a little bit more. And some decks are just a little bit slower, and there are decks like Eternatus that just manually attach once a turn. Also Green's decks, if any of the Green's decks like Bird Trio or Green's Tina Chomp, those are usually susceptible to Energy Denial. So we just got, you know, we want to play the same old Dragapult VMAX strategy, taking multiple prize cards on the 4th and 5th turns, trying to close out the game. Especially, sorry, my camera has seemed to have frozen. But I believe the audio is still recording. I am so sorry. My wonderful camera. Hashtag professional YouTuber. There we go. Yeah, so same old Dragapult VMAX strategy, just with a bunch of energy denial slammed in there by the Undaunted team. And that's going to wrap up our Rogue Deck Roundup for the week, which is the name I have just coined, and you may very well see that in the title. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I always say, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you are not already subscribed to the channel. Sorry, I'm a little bit flustered by the camera being wonky. But yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure you thumbs up the video. It helps me a lot. It helps the video and the channel reach new viewers. Check out PotownStore.com. Use code Celio for 5% off. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.